Okay, good evening and welcome to the Township of Woolwich Special Council meeting on November 16th, 2021. Before we begin, I'll remind Council that this portion of the meeting is being recorded and live streamed to YouTube. And I'll start, as always, with a roll call for Council for the benefit of those watching. I, Mayor Shantz, am present and chairing this meeting. Councillor Martin. Present. Councillor McMillan.
Present.
Councillor Merlihan.
Present.
Councillor Redekop.
Present.
And Councillor Shantz.
Present.
Thank you. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest this evening? Seeing none, we just have one item on the agenda tonight, and that's emergency repairs to the low-level bridge in St. Jacobs on Three Bridges Road. And I will call on Jared Poupé, Director of Infrastructure Services.
Thank you, Mayor Shantz, and through you, thank you, and through you, Mayor Shantz, to members of council, I want to take this opportunity to thank council for hosting this special meeting on our off week. So appreciate that. This is a significant discussion piece this evening. So I think I want to just summarize. I think the report has a lot of information contained in there. I'll just take a bit of time to summarize some of the highlights from staff's perspective, to identify exactly why we are here and why time is of the essence if it is council's wish to have the low-level bridge reopened as soon as possible. I would let council know that we became aware of some erosion issues, and we did undertake an underwater investigation back in 2018. We determined that there was erosion occurring predominantly in the four most easterly piers. That prompted staff then to identify the low-level bridge on a future capital program, which was to occur. Design was to start this year in 2021. The erosion that we identified, in no way, shape, or form did we feel we would be in this position to have to close the road. And Mother Nature certainly had other priorities with the significant weather event that occurred on September 22nd. Council will be reminded that was such a significant event. We had issues on Martin Grove Road. Also, of course, this low-level bridge is frequented to submerging constantly with rain events, but it was so significant on the 22nd of September that it was a visual depression in the south portion of the easterlymost leg of the deck that had dipped. That was a grave concern to us. We closed the bridge immediately once the water subsided, and we engaged in another underwater investigation. It was nice that we had that 2018 baseline, and I think that is identified through Appendix B in the underwater report, and then Appendix C, which came later this morning or this afternoon, further identifies the extent of the erosion from 2018 now until 2021. So it is significant. Of note too, there was a crack for the entire width of the deck near Pier 2. So we have erosion, and now we have failing occurring on the deck. So staff have spent some time with our engineer GM Blue Plan as to determine what are our best options from an emergency repair perspective. Can we open this? The answer is yes. We engaged the GRCA to determine what permitting would be required. So everything that we have identified for repairs can still occur. We do need to get DFO approval. These are standard approval processes that would happen in any event. We don't see that to significantly impact the timing of this. Really, what we need is to understand council's wishes. Does council desire to open this bridge as soon as possible? And is council willing to fund the $400,000 upset limit using federal gas tax money that is currently available? I think it's important to note that the monies we've identified for use on the emergency repair will have an impact in 2022. The federal gas tax monies that we are looking to allocate to this emergency repair has already been spoken for under capital programs in 2022. And I think council needs to understand that piece, that this would just mean in deliberations for 2022, that council would have the opportunity to either defer those projects or look at other forms of funding through possibly debenture to continue on with the work plan that is being prepared currently. I would also like to bring to council's attention that we are looking to exempt the emergency repairs from our procurement policy, looking to authorize staff to select qualified contractors to complete the work. The work will require two expertise. At this point, the emergency repair will involve the filling in of the voids created by the erosion by pumping in concrete, and that will involve specialized underwater divers. And then there is the surface works to repair the deck crack, and that will be involving the removing of a portion of the deck and replacing it by a qualified bridge contractor. And then we're also asking that that the council allow us to retain GM Blue Plan to continue with the oversight of the work. And of course, that mayor and clerk can sign any contract documents that may be required. But with that, I would be happy to entertain any questions that council may have on the emergency repairs to the bridge.
Okay, thanks, Jared. Council, any questions for Mr. Poupé? Councillor Shantz.
Thank you, through you to Jared. I do have a number of questions, and I guess I'll start out with saying that I think we have to open this up as soon as possible, because this is really causing issues for the horse and buggy traffic, I believe. So I think that's something that we have to attend to. The questions I have is, if we do the emergency repairs, do we have your best guess as to how long that will last, or what do you see that happening in the future?
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Mayor Shantz, to Councillor Shantz. We certainly expect that if we complete the emergency repairs, that we would get 5 years at the low end. What we would propose to do then, if council elects to proceed with the emergency repairs, is to show this project through as designed in 2022, which would involve the EA. That'll take the better part of 2022. And then after the preferred alternative, whether it be rehabilitation or replacement, that design work would commence then in 2023 and 4, with construction slated for potentially 2025.
Okay, and so your plan is to continue with the EA right away then, and not wait until we have another issue where we have to do some more work on it. We would plan for that immediately.
At this point, I would say that would be our priority to determine the best option going forward.
And the other question I have is, have you looked into putting any kind of piers in front of those, or steel piers in front of those cement piers, like driving in piles or something like that, and that would go deeper into the riverbed, that would protect that erosion, or is that something you would look at in the EA?
And through you, Mayor Shantz, to Councillor Shantz. So I think what we've looked at is the quickest and most robust emergency repair required. That would be somewhat specialized, and I think that would bleed out into something more like a reconstruction, like a rehabilitation or replacement portion. We appreciate we need to protect the bridge differently than what it is now. But the 3 pieces we have are the scour. So that is going to be taken care of by filling in the void space. Obviously, we have the repair on the deck we identified that needs to be removed and replaced. But further to that too, part of the hindrance to this and why we're seeing so much scour on the upstream end is because of all the deposition of the material downstream. So it's acting like a dam essentially, and you're getting all of that turbulent flow occurring at the bridge. So part of this would be to look at opening up the downstream side by removing some of that material, and that's evident on the one map that was prepared in the WATEC report. It shows depths from water to ground, and you'll see it's over 1 meter on the upstream end, and you're as shallow as 8 to 12 inches on the downstream side of things. So all that material was upstream, it's now downstream, and it's essentially acting like a dam and causing all the turbulent flow. So we think those 3 pieces right there will certainly prolong the emergency repair life until we can do a proper reconstruction, which would involve looking at protecting the upstream end.
And is the GRCA okay with working downstream as well?
At this point, we got to flow through a permit process, but yes, this has all been vetted through the GRCA at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Councillor Merlihan and then McMillan.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Shantz. Through you to Mr. Poupé. I'm just trying to figure out the emergency aspect of this. As far as the emergency, can you speak to that in terms of traffic and the people using the bridge? I know this bridge it's out, plenty of times because of high water throughout the years. And I asked in an email just about traffic, kind of in the same lines of Peel Street Bridge, how much, we have traffic reports and stuff. And I didn't get an answer. And I have no idea what kind of traffic we're talking about. And when you look at the area, it doesn't seem like there's that many farms in the close vicinity. So can you speak to this emergency and why we need to be getting this bridge open so quickly?
And through your Mayor Shantz to Councillor Merlahan, I think the emergency aspect is simply put that it is failing, and it has failed. If we do nothing right now, we will lose the bridge. I think that is the emergency piece. So regardless of what the volume of road is, if we want a water crossing to continue at this location, we have to do something. Once erosion starts, it happens very quickly. I think that's what we're trying to prevent, further erosion. So we're going to fill the void and to stop any further erosion. And then at that point, it can be council's decision on what they want to do. If they want to continue on with just monitoring the structure, I think that's something that can be discussed further, or whether they want to walk down a reconstruction, which would be to further rehab or to replace it. Certainly, we have fielded a number of calls from the Old Order community. I think the detriment is to that community. It is not the vehicular traffic that we're concerned about, though it is quite a cut through. It's more the Mennonite community and the horse and buggy community, how they access St. Jacobs and back and forth. I think that's the concerning piece. That if we sit here and do nothing, we are basically saying that we are going to only replace the structure, because I think we would run the risk of doing nothing now with the intent to rehabilitate, further scour, further damage occurring, and potentially loss of the structure. So I think that's the emergency piece we're talking about, is losing the structure at this point. Okay,
that makes sense. I couldn't figure out why it would be a traffic emergency, but now with the $400,000 fix, what is the potential that this turns into throwaway money, a year or two from now?
Through Mayor Shantz, Councillor Merlahan, I think just based on the fact that if we do nothing, we could lose a bridge, I would see the $400,000 as an investment in this point, because we'll maintain the crossing. I think that the $400,000 has the potential then, that if we were able to stop the erosion, we may have the potential to simply add another $600,000 or $700,000 in a couple of years to rehabilitate it, and maybe for a small investment of 1.1 million, we have a bridge that could last us, a number of years. There is the potential that we put the 400,000, keep the crossing, and there is further erosion that happens on some of the other piers. That's possible too, and then maybe we're looking at a replacement. So I think it depends on how you look at that 400,000. Staff's opinion is the $400,000 is the required cost to maintain the structure at this location at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor McMillan.
Thank you, Mayor Shantz, through you. We're not sure if we put the 400,000 in now, we're not sure if we go down the path of replacement, whether that would be required. I think you said it could be 5 years. We're not sure. Is there a chance that it could be longer than that? And if so, would there be like periodical monitoring to say, okay, our estimated time of replacement or complete rehab is 5 years. After 12 months, we look and reassess at that point. And then, every 12 or 24 months, there's a monitoring, and we get more of a ballpark, or we get to narrow down what that time frame is. Or is it kind of put in the 400,000 and then start planning for replacement or repair 5 years out, and we kind of don't get to adjust that as we go?
Yep, through you, Mayor Shantz, to Councillor McMillan. I think it is the monitoring process that you will see. We need to do a better job of monitoring. We had been monitoring over time. I think it's important for council to be aware that we had been monitoring. We hadn't necessarily been documenting all the monitoring, but certainly we would take a rod and go along the piers and see. And that's how we became aware of more significant erosion and hence the underwater investigation in 2018. But what you would see now is this investment here of 400,000 to maintain the structure. We will certainly monitor after every weather event now. Anytime it's been submerged, so you'll see more monitoring occurring just to ensure that the repair A is holding and to try to project out what that time frame is. So I think the intent would be to walk through an EA process. That'll be required no matter what. So I think that would be valuable to do that and determine what the outcome is and what the community and council would look to see there. Would they like to see a rehabilitation or replacement? I mean, that's a viable option, is to just wait and see as well too. So I think that's kind of some of the unknowns, but certainly through the monitoring process, we'll be able to determine a better time frame.
Go ahead.
Follow Mayor Shantz. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. And I certainly didn't mean to say, point a finger and say staff wasn't monitoring. I was just wondering if that monitoring would narrow down that ballpark estimate of 5 years where, we wouldn't have to necessarily replace it in 5 years, regardless of how well the bridge was holding up, because there's really no way to adjust the plan once we start. So if we did do an EA right away, EAs are only good for a certain amount of time, correct?
That's correct. 10 years is the time frame on an EA.
Oh, 10. Okay. So if we did an EA year one, the repair could last 5, 6, 7, 8 years. And that EA that we do in year one is still good. Correct.
And through Mayor Shantz to Councillor McMillan as well, you can freshen up an EA, we'll say. There can be things that you work towards so that you can extend that time frame as well.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm wondering, if that 5-year time frame could be extended based on the performance of the repair and how we do with, like you said, the increased monitoring.
Yes.
Councillor Martin.
Thank you. To Jared, down the road, when it comes that we want to rehabilitate the bridge or replace it, would it make sense to raise the bed 3 feet?
Yeah, through you, Mayor Shantz to Councillor Martin. I think if we did a rehabilitation, we would have less options with what we can and can't do. We know that the deck is too thick. It's a redundant thickness, so it could be thinner to allow more water underneath it. But we have looked at that. If it was a replacement, I think we'd have more opportunity to improve it so that it wouldn't be as submerged maybe as frequently. So absolutely, but we do have some interesting topography out there and some land access issues as well. But you were correct. Replacement would afford us some opportunities that we don't have today.
Councillor Redekop, did I see your hand? No. Okay. Any other questions? Councillor Merlehan?
Thank you, Mayor Shantz. Through you to Mr. Poupé. Mr. Poupé, can you speak to the projects that are the other capital projects in 2022 that you're thinking might have financing issues? Because you talked about taking away the gas tax revenue from some projects. So are there projects in jeopardy or in specific, or are you priming us for more debentures in 2022?
So through you, Mayor Shantz to Councillor Merlehan, I think it's important for council to be aware that we have just released our first drafts internally. So we do have discussions actually starting tomorrow. But I think what is worth sharing at a high level is that based on what Infrastructure Services has contemplated to occur in 2022, there are 3 projects showing debenture currently. That would be the Peel Street pedestrian bridge. That would be the Breslau Drain 1 project, and a small portion of Industrial Drive, which we've slated to occur in 2022. Those don't contemplate this $400,000. So at this draft stage, it is about 2.6 million in debenture on about an $18 million capital. That would be the largest capital that Woolwich has undertaken. Last year was, I believe, almost 16 million. That was the largest. And you can see that we continually are ramping up as we have lots of needs.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Poupé or Mr. Petherick? He's on the line as well. Okay. There is a recommendation here. Would someone like to move the recommendation? Councillor Martin, seconded by Councillor McMillan. Any further discussion? All those in, oh, sorry, Councillor Shantz, further discussion?
Yeah, I just want to make one comment, and I think debenture doesn't sit well with me, but sometimes we have to do that. I would like to see if we're going to go ahead with this project, to seriously look at pushing off the Peel Street Bridge work for a year or so. I think this bridge is a lot more important than that particular one. This is an emergency situation outside of our control, and I'd like to see us seriously look at that when we're doing the budget.
That's certainly something I'm sure it will be part of the discussion when it comes up, as will the level of debenture and how that fits into the total picture. So I understand the reluctance to debenture, and anyway, that's a discussion for budget. So let's not go there right now. Any discussion on the motion on the floor? All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I need another motion then, that the following bylaw in the hands of the clerk be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed, and that it be numbered as bylaw 64-2021, and that it be signed by the mayor and clerk and sealed with the corporate seal. Councillor Shantz and McMillan, all those in favor? And that's carried. And another one then. Okay, and another motion, a bylaw to confirm all actions and proceedings. Just to, okay. Sorry. Motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Redekop, seconded by Councillor Merlehan. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much, Council, for taking time to work this issue out. And in closing, Council would like to thank all who participated or tuned in tonight. Please stay connected on Zoom until there's confirmation that the live stream has stopped. And a good night to everyone.